Drum humidifiers enter the 21st century in style with the redesigned Model 1000 in corrosion-resistant plastic. With this DVD and a few common tools, installation will be quick and uncomplicated, as you will see. Let's get to it. All furnace-type bypass humidifiers rely on the pressure difference between the hot air supply duct and the cold air return duct to create airflow through the humidifier's evaporator pad. The air will always flow from hot to cold. Our ideal humidifier location then will meet the following conditions. 1. Humidifier body and bypass tube at eye level and easily accessible for routine maintenance. 2. The space between the humidifier body and the bypass tube is no more than 30 inches to ensure maximum airflow through the humidifier. 3. The supplied flex bypass tube is cut to the proper length and pulled tight to ensure maximum airflow. 4. The humidistat is located a minimum of 6 inches upstream of the humidifier, where moist air will enter the return duct. 5. The bypass damper is fully open. 6. The humidifier is mounted level on the duct. 7. There is nothing inside the duct behind the bypass collar and damper, or the humidifier body. 8. The humidifier body and bypass collar and damper are level. Exceptions to this installation occur if A. The bypass duct required is more than the supplied 30 inches. B. The bypass collar and damper must be installed above or below the humidifier. C. The bypass collar and damper must be installed perpendicular to the humidifier. If your situation is one of these, use hard metal duct and elbows to minimize airflow restriction. Humidifier body installation in 7 steps. Caution: turn off the furnace before beginning. Step number 1. Right or left hand ducting. Once you've decided the best location for the humidifier, determine if the unit must be left or right hand ducting. This will depend on whether the hot air duct is to the left or right of the cold air duct. The side panels are symmetrical, so setting up for left or right hand ducting is done by flipping the panel 180 degrees. Snap off and save this bearing for later. Step number 2. Mounting the humidifier cabinet on the duct. If you have not already done so, remove the humidifier side panels from the carton and locate the humidifier cabinet mounting template. Use adhesive tape to affix the template onto the duct in the selected location. Use the level line on the template to ensure the humidifier cabinet will be mounted level. Drill the 4 marked 1/8 inch side panel mounting holes. Using a 3/8 inch drill bit, drill a hole inside the area marked humidifier cutout. Using this hole as a starting point, cut out the humidifier cutout area marked on the template using tin snips, cutting on the outside of the line to ensure the cabinet will fit. Remove the remaining portion of the template from the duct. Take the bypass side panel and mount it to the duct first on the side of the humidifier closest to the hot air duct using 2 of the supplied screws. Mount through 2 holes in the bypass side flange into 2 of the holes drilled into the template earlier. Repeat this sequence for the motor side panel. Once the panels are mounted, install 2 gasket strips onto the duct hole, top and bottom, between the 2 panel sides. Slide the water pan into the side panels with the drain fitting to the rear of the humidifier or closest to the duct. Take note that if you plan to install an optional drain tube, it will also be necessary to drill out this drain fitting before installing the drum as detailed in the instruction manual, pages 6 and 7. Since this drain tube is optional, it will not be demonstrated here, but is detailed in the instruction manual. As you slide the pan toward the duct, slightly deflect the front of both side panels, one at a time, so that the hooks on the front of the water pan drop into the slots in the front of the side panels. With the pan flanges now resting on the side panel ribs and under the upper ribs at the rear of the side panels, secure the pan in place using two of the provided number 6 screws. Remove the lower knockout closest to the water pan. With the pan now in place, we will install the float and valve assembly. Remove the white mounting nut, and after passing the threaded end through the knockout hole, secure in place with this same nut. Hold the valve while tightening so that an accurate water level will result. Install the bearing into the center of the bypass side panel. Take the drum and evaporator pad assembly and install the closed-end drum shaft into the center of the motor coupling and the other end of the shaft into the bearing by gently pushing down into place. Step number 3. Mounting the bypass collar and damper. Find a spot on the supply duct that is level and within 30 inches of the humidifier duct connection and tape up the bypass template. Drill the 3 1/8 inch holes. Drill a 3/8 inch hole inside the circular area marked collar cutout, and using this hole as a starting point, cut out this same area using tin snips. Mount the bypass collar in the open position using 3 screws. Step number 4. Water supply and drainage connection. Sand the end of the tubing with medium sandpaper to 1 1/4 inches to prevent leaks and provide a non-slipping, trouble-free connection. Slide the compression nut and the black rubber ferrule onto the sanded tubing and fit the brass insert into the end of the same tubing. Push the plastic tubing firmly into the humidifier's float valve threaded water inlet. Carefully hand tighten the nut and finish with an adjustable wrench. Optimum tightness will leave a gap of about 3/16 of an inch between the compression nut and the float valve mounting hex nut. Choose the nearest cold water pipe. This will supply water to the humidifier after installing the self-piercing saddle valve. Turn the main water supply off. Turn the saddle valve handle until the piercing pin does not protrude beyond the top clamp. Place the rubber gasket, which is affixed to the top clamp, in contact with the selected pipe at the chosen location and mount the bolts and nuts to the saddle clamp top and bottom pieces. Carefully cut the plastic tubing from the float valve to the proper length to fit between the humidifier and the saddle valve. As before, with medium sandpaper, sand the other end of the tube to 1 1/4 inches to prevent leaks and provide a non-slipping, trouble-free connection. Slide the brass compression nut and the nylon ferrule onto the sanded tubing and fit the brass insert into the end of the same tubing. Push the plastic tubing firmly into the threaded water outlet valve and carefully begin tightening the compression nut by hand, being especially careful not to cross-thread. Once again, finish with the adjustable wrench and do not over-tighten. For installation of the optional overflow drainage tube, please refer to the instruction manual, pages 6 and 7. Step number 5. Electrical installation. Choose an unswitched outlet no more than 10 feet from the humidifier to plug in the 24-volt transformer which will power the humidistat and the humidifier's drum motor. The supplied humidistat can be simply plenum duct mounted or wall mounted for easy access wherever. Extra low voltage wire may be necessary. Out of the box, the humidistat is in wall mounting mode as is. Choose a location about 5 feet above the floor where normal air circulation exists, perhaps near the heating thermostat, for example. Due to the distance from the humidifier, you will have to buy 15 or 20 feet of 20-gauge low-voltage wire. Drill a small hole in the wall and fish the low-voltage wire through the hole, leaving about 6 inches outside the hole for a humidistat connection. Remove the cover plate from the humidistat, and after passing the low-voltage wires through the 3/8-inch hole in the base plate, mount it level on the wall using 4 1-inch screws in the corner holes. Strip the low-voltage wires and connect to the humidistat using 2 90-degree terminals provided. Replace the cover plate and install the knob onto the humidistat control shaft. If you plan on plenum duct mounting the humidistat, you must first convert it so that the control mechanism will be in the airstream so as to sense and control humidity. To convert, follow these steps. Remove and discard the cover plate. Remove 2 screws from the back to detach the control mechanism. Turn it 180 degrees upside down so that the shaft protrudes through the 1/2-inch hole in the base plate. Reinsert the 2 screws you just removed to hold the control mechanism to the base plate. Tape the humidistat opening template to the selected location and drill 4 mounting holes and a 3/8-inch hole in the area marked humidistat cutout. Using this hole as a starting point, make the cutout, cutting on the outside of the line. The duct-mounted humidistat is now ready for low-voltage wiring. With the 10 feet of included wiring, the 120 volt outlet must be located close enough to connect the end of the low voltage wire to the drum motor and have the duct mounted humidistat located in between. The humidifier motor lead wire has 2 push-on terminals which will mate with the 2 terminals at the end of the low voltage wire on the transformer. Connect these wires together. With the wiring harness placed somewhere close to the location of the humidistat, carefully spread the 2 wires apart. Cut one wire and strip both cut ends. Connect these ends to the 90-degree terminals in the case of the plenum duct mount humidistat, or in the case of the wall mount humidistat, connect them to the low voltage wire. To complete the duct mount installation, use 4 1-inch sheet metal screws, taking note of the small notch at the bottom, which will allow the low voltage wires to get to the humidistat wiring terminals. Apply the label to the base plate face and install the knob. Step number 6. Adjusting the water level. Turn on the main water supply. Turn the self-piercing valve clockwise to supply water to the unit. If leaks occur at any joints, carefully tighten the compression nut to eliminate them. Adjust the saddle valve so that water flows gently and neither too slowly nor too quickly into the pan. The water level is adjusted by rotating the knob on the valve seat to alter its height. The ideal water level will allow the portion of the evaporator pad in the water pan to be fully immersed in water. Step number 7. Completing installation. Plug the transformer in and set the humidistat above 50%. The drum should now be rotating. Turn the humidistat to off and the humidifier should shut off. Retrieve the flexible bypass tube and 2 spring clamps. Slide one of the spring clamps over one end of the bypass tube and then fit that same end over the collar flange and secure with the spring clamp. Repeat with the other end of the bypass tube onto the bypass side panel. Examine the humidifier's front cover to see the 2 mounting pegs that will locate into round slots at the top rear of both side panels. Hold the front panel in the fully open position and tilt to insert one of the pegs into the slot. Slightly deflect the opposite side panel to insert the other peg. Close the cover and snap shut. Congratulations! Installation is complete. Refer to the manual for operation instructions and warranty information.